Hey folks, this is Ben Yessel. How's it going? Just had an interesting dream just now. I know I'm talking about dreams again a lot more here, but I think this one's a bit more memorable than the one I had yesterday. For darn sure. For darn sure. Um, so I was at some kind of, let's say, concert of sorts involving um, composers and performers, and it was a pretty big deal at a theater. I'm not exactly sure where it was, um, but it was a pretty artsy place, pretty awesome theater. Um, so I guess I had written some music that was being performed by um, I guess it was some kind of there was a number of people that had written music for performance in this concert, um, but I was one of the composers, and um, I had written a few different pieces or different pieces of different movements and stuff. Um, and the music I wrote was, I thought, was pretty good. But the funny thing was, I don't remember actually composing it during the dream. It was something that when, of course, they're performing it, I was like, oh yeah, this is the fight I could write. This is coming from me. Um, of course, but it was anyway. I can mention some more detail. I remember these details. I had written out, I think, a piano, a reduced piano part, and then there was a guy that was the orchestrator that had kind of taken what I wrote and just orchestrated it wrote it for the chamber orchestra kind of thing. But I agreed with all of his decisions and everything. Sounded great, sounded fine. It probably wasn't one of my best pieces, but it was not bad. So after that was done, and there were some mistakes that were made. Mistakes were made. um, I was like, I was like in a good mood. It was great, and everybody else had performed their stuff, and I don't know if everybody's gonna be judged. I don't know if it's a judging thing. I just remember my parents were there. My family was there, and so they had a nice grand piano that was there on the stage, but it wasn't really. The funny thing was, it was kind of a sloping theater of sorts. So it was kind of like in a number of college campuses, especially, yeah, there's a type of either it's a larger classroom that's kind of sloping down. The stage was on the higher side, of course, and it wasn't really it was a stage of sorts, but it's kind of a tiered stage, a lot of space between uh, each step or each tier. And it was up at the higher end, and the audience was lower. Usually, it should be the other way around. The audience should be higher, and the stage should be lower. But I don't know. I don't know. So there was a nice grand piano they had, um, mm, right up there, and yeah, I just was like, hey, I'm gonna start playing it. So I played a few notes, and lo and behold, of course, this lady that came in and said something like, "Oh, we have to no playing the piano. We have to, we're turning the lights off now. Everybody's out of the room." Of course. So I was like, "What the heck? You guys have just performed a piece here, um, of mine. I'm just playing the piano. What's the problem? So then I woke up, of course, and got to thinking about some waking world, real life things. And of course, as everybody dreams, there are other things I dreamt about. I can even remember those things before this concert was going on. In fact, right before this concert was going on, for some reason, well, I was with family members somewhere on some kind of family get together or something. This is my own family and extended family, but there were some kids I didn't recognize that I don't know. I don't know, but they were still relatives. And one kid had these very large freckles. I don't know. Like, anyway. But, yeah, a little girl, brown hair, very large freckles. Like, not, I don't know. It's just different. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I can actually remember more of this dream. I remember teaching piano lessons to one of my, again, one of my uh, nieces, I guess you'd say, or even younger. What's the next stage younger than that? I don't know. Anyway, so it's kind of more musically involved dream, I suppose, on some level. Also, family members. But getting back to that piano thing and kind of being kicked off the piano, there are a number of instances in life where that's actually happened. I was like, what's the big deal? I'm just playing piano, right? I cannot tell you how many times I have been like, I want to play piano. What's the problem? Why can't I play piano? Let me go through some of these instances, how many of them, or something along those lines, and you'll get the idea of, I think, just the last little bit of this dream, why, you know, the amount of experience I've had with this. So, we're talking about mainly college age and later. So at BYU, Brigham Young University, when I was first there, and also my sophomore year after my admission, the practice rooms that some of which had pianos, I sometimes was able to use, but for some reason, because of the way they did things, uh, I don't think I ever had a reserved room. So I was always, as far as practicing goes, I was always trying to find an open room. And it was a real issue at BYU. It was a real issue. Um, had, you know, it was different at Central Washington where there's always room available. But it was a real issue. There's a lot of pianists at BYU. And so that's not so irksome, but it was irksome to have someone come in and say, hey, I have this time reserved. I'm like, I'm just trying to find time to practice the horn, and then, while my chops resting, practice the piano a little bit. Because if I don't practice the horn, I won't be prepared for my lessons. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's one of my the things I hated the most about BYU when I was there. Was their practice room policies and everything, and signing up for all that stuff. Which I never had to do after that, going to Central Washington and stuff. But that's just the tip. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? That should be irksome enough. Oh, and by the way, they had pianos in other rooms that, for the most part, I was rarely able to use, and I was okay with that. I was just wanting to get some practicing in. So, like, like, maybe I'll go to my dorm and practice or something. But I never did. I don't know. So, I don't know if they have a solution to that at this point. I have no idea. So at Tacoma Community College, when I was at home, So it's kind of just chronological. I came home to finish up my GE classes and whatever. That was never a problem. I could use the piano like wherever. I could use the TCC's pianos pretty much anytime. And they had a piano in the main theater they had. And Coleman Community College is all. It's a bunch. You just have a bunch of different, whole bunch of different buildings, most of which they were all pretty small compared to, of course, BYU and bigger colleges like University of Washington. But they had a whole bunch of different buildings, and it was kind of nifty how they did their buildings. And some of them were kind of, well, it was just a different kind of architecture. It was kind of cool. And so the piano thing wasn't an issue then. But after Central Washington University, also not an issue. Yeah. After Central Washington, though, with the Pacific Northwest Film Scoring Program, we're talking about film scoring kind of stuff. I once asked if I could use the new facilities for the master's program after I had finished the part-time film scoring program, and I was not allowed. You have to be paying lots of money to be using that stuff. I was like, oh, I thought to myself I'd already finished this program. What's the problem? But whatever. So it's not the worst situation in the world. Now, there's still more experiences I have. Hold your horses. So, now of course, working with music sales, that playing the pianos was not a big deal. Benaroya Hall, I've been scolded before for putting something on top of their grand piano temporarily before a concert. And the guy that scolded me was scolded. He was scolded. So I guess that was okay, but I was furious about the way he talked to me. I don't know what pianos or how much. I don't know how much different pianos are worth. I have no idea what's going on there. All I know is I was rushing to get in the backstage, and I was just without thinking about signs and anything like that. And Benaroya Hall did not lose any. The piano is just fine, just great shape. Pianos are sturdy, tough instruments. No damage was done. If you were to put weights, like hundreds of pounds of weight, of like iron weights on a grand piano like that, then I think we'd have an issue. But so anyway, that kind of stuff. That wasn't involving playing a piano. That was just involving, yeah. Okay, so playing piano. I've always been able to play piano at church. That's never been an issue. But there have been other times. I'm just trying to think exactly when these times would be when I was just booted off the stage. Well, one time I was with a friend of mine. He was playing some jazzier stuff on the grand piano in our church, in the chapel, and we were kind of kicked out because of what we were playing. And, yeah, that's a different kind of thing again, but all these situations are a little different. Right? All these situations are a little bit different. But the theme is, I just thought, since I had worked really hard on this project, or I had done something or other, I was enrolled in this college, or I was involved in this program, or I was, that, hey, what's the deal with? And that's just some real life stuff that probably affected the stream. I just finished composing something that was a good piece, and brought this program some recognition by. I'm sure they were recording it, and this is a dream I had, but it was a good piece, and I think it was for some kind of. It was both a composer's invitation for composers, and it was an invitation for young musicians to play new works by composers. So that was part of the reason why there's a lot of mistakes that were made. So some younger players are playing this. So some kind of festival or competition of some sort. I don't know. But it got me thinking. It got me thinking. Uh, there's a heck of a lot of stuff in this life that is not fair. That is not. I don't think it's right. Needless to say, self-employment taxes was definitely not fair, right? But the idea of, the feeling of, oh, I belong to this group. I'm enrolled in this program. I belong to this college. And then I what? I can't play the piano. I can't have a practice room. What's the deal with that? Like, and to this day, there's still a side to me that is like, you know, it still doesn't rub me the right way. It's still, I understand in many instances why there are these rules and regulations and things, but no, it's like the idea of, I don't know, that you're not special enough, kind of thing. Or you haven't done this thing, or you're a member of this group, but you're not a member now, or you're not enrolled now, or you're not enrolled in this particular program, or you're not, a performance major, or you're not whatever, right? Priorities given to performance majors for, that kind of stuff. And by the way, any college doesn't have enough practice rooms for their music majors. You need to get more practice rooms. Otherwise, you're gonna push people away from your college, man. Nobody wants to have to do what I did at BYU to find a practice room. That's just ridiculous. But it wasn't just me. A lot of people were doing that. I don't know. And so if you couldn't find a practice room, you weren't prepared for your lesson. But some things make more sense to me. They always do make sense to me. And it's not like even if it didn't make sense to me, I still couldn't do anything about some of these things. But the piano thing, like, I don't know. A piano, and I know about pianos. Believe me, I do. A piano only goes out of tune when you are playing it more, with more aggressiveness, louder dynamics. It goes out of tune faster if you're playing a piano quite a bit. Like, for years and years, same piano for hours and hours and hours. And you're playing very hard, difficult music at loud dynamics. That the strings are going to take a beating from the hammers, right? So yeah, you're obviously going to have to tune it more because you're using it more. Now, obviously, there's other factors that come into play with piano tuning, like the temperature and the humidity of and all these things. These are things that piano tuners are especially knowledgeable about. But I don't know. I mean, sometimes it's enough to just, I don't know. You guys tell me on this one. Like, sometimes in my dreams, I have these things that come back that on some level to me just don't seem fair. Or for a lot of us that are very busy with a lot of things, after college especially, I don't know. Or we're just, whatever we're doing, it's harder to always get to the piano. I do have a piano now. My parents bought me. It's a digital piano. It's not a grand piano. Grand pianos are really only meant for, I think, houses when you're gonna stay there for a long, 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 long time, or they're meant to stay in a room. They're not meant to be shipped. Oh, you don't want to ship a grand piano. I mean, yeah, if you do, it's real expensive, and you have to get. I don't know. Oh, but the thing is it's really irksome when you are in the element, when you're in the moment, you're composing something and you're using a piano, and someone kicks you off. And I'm pretty sure that other people have had far more frustrating experiences in this regard than me. I'm sure I'm probably not even scratching the surface of what some people have gone through in this regard. It takes a lot of discipline to get to the point where you want to play. Well, it takes some discipline, but it's certainly a good thing. It's a very useful, good thing to just for just even outside of lessons, just for fun, just to sit down and want to play the piano. Of course, there are times when you can't really do that on some pianos, and that's just the way this world is. And I think my subconscious is telling me on some level this is very wrong. This is very wrong. But it's very wrong for anybody that wants to play piano and can't for whatever reason. That's a very wrong thing. It's it's whether it's financial or whether it's educational or whether it's space in their home or logistics or policies in various organizations. It's always wrong when you prevent someone. Now, in the case of my church, though, every instance I'm talking about previously was a little different. It has a different nature, but when you feel part of the club in a way, and then you're booted out of that club, or you're saying, "Oh no, you're not really part of the club," or you were never really part of, yeah, you were never really, you were never really part of this group as much as you thought you were. And you understand this the older you get, and on some level you do. But when you're younger, like myself, and you have a personality more like myself, and you think like myself, and there are many other people that probably struggle with this quite a bit more than me. It's harder and doesn't always make a lot of sense. I can't stress this enough. There are some very deep things about this dream for all musicians, but for all people in general. And this really sucks on some, and it's just the way the world is. And when we die, we're hoping that everything is different, and it should be different. It should be a lot different. It should be, yeah, yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of privilege in this world. There's a lot of inequality, financial equality. There's so many things that make things very wrong about the way things are. And when anybody ignores this sort of thing or tries to downplay it or just I don't know what, if people don't get it, they don't get it. I guess that can be forgivable. But when somebody understands someone's frustration and still, you have to enforce policies. But if someone's not even sympathetic or doesn't even suggest alternatives, when someone that's very shy, has Asperger's, has the guts to actually say what's going on, there's some things that are inexcusable to me. Like when you pay lots of money or your parents pay lots of money, you would think that you would at least be able to have a practice room and piano to play success, whether it's practicing or playing for fun, which either way you can actually grow as a musician, by the way, practicing or playing for fun. And when you're playing a horn, you need a little bit of breaks to in between. If your chops are getting a little tired, you need 5-10 minutes, and everybody does this. Even pianists do it. You just time to shake out your hands and go get a drink of water and come right back. And so, and by the way, that's one of the things that happened at BYU was, a pianist would take a break, someone would take the room and, hey, I'm practicing here. Oh, I didn't know you were here. There's stuff, it happened all the time. Man, that second floor of the Harris Fine Arts Center. HVAC. Yeah. It sucks. It sucks. It's unfair. On some level it is. But that's you could also broaden that to not just being in part of a group or a program or organization or enrolled in a college or whatever. You can broaden that to other things that involve, I thought that things were this way, but really they're not. Anyway. And the solution to this is what? Getting more stuff in your life or that you have, or being part of the club? Well, on some level, when we talk about being a member of the club, we're also talking about that inference that the Illuminati and stuff. But that's That's the club of clubs, right? That's the most elite of elites, supposedly, right? Like, well, but of course, if you remember that club, it's a good chance you're going to hell. But that's a different subject. So, anyway, all right. Thanks for listening. By this point, leave your thoughts and comments below. I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.